Greetings and welcome to another episode of Super Speak Sundays. I'm your host, James the Orator. As you know, we highlight just ordinary people who have gone to do extraordinary things. And today is no different from what you have witnessed in the past. You know, I've had a lot of questions. People have asked me, who produces your show? Who puts together your lighting and this and that? And to be honest, I do a lot of this stuff on my own. I do know that I probably need to hire someone because things are getting busy, and there are so many different components. If you're thinking about doing a podcast, or what we call here a vodcast, there are a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of moving parts, and so it helps to have someone to help to market your information, to make sure you're getting it out on social media and all that good stuff. And so, here we are. Hey, we want to thank you all for continuing to support this initiative. Those of you who have subscribed to our YouTube channel, please make sure you go to YouTube and not just subscribe for yourself, but share it with some people. Let folks know what we're doing. We really try to be intentional about bringing great people on to the show so you'll benefit. All right. Our guest for today. Wow. I've been watching this person for a while. Not to sound creepy or anything, but this person has really been inspiration. This is one of the reasons why I started Super Speak Sundays, because this person they've interviewed everybody in the world. And sometimes when you do interviews, you don't get a chance to get any shine and nobody knows who you are. And so I thought it was very timely to bring our next guest on. Let me just introduce you to her. Chelsea Starling Whittington is a native of Gary, Indiana, and a proud graduate of Howard University. She has a bachelor's degree in broadcast journalism, and then she later attended Purdue University, where she obtained her master's of arts in organizational communication. Her career in public relations and communication spans more than 25 years, having worked for the Peace Corps recruiting office in Arlington, Virginia, the office of Congressman Charles Rangel, the JWA Boys and Girls Club, Lake Area United Way, Horseshoe and Trump Casinos, the Gary Community School Corporation, and Johnson Publishing Company, the publisher of Ebony and Jet magazines. Wow, that's a pretty big time right there. In 2009, Chelsea joined the executive team at U.S. Cellular Corporation as a communications manager. There, she managed 4 of the company's public relations firms while promoting the brand of the nation's 6th largest wireless phone company. From January 2012 to July 2015, Chelsea served in the administration of Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson, the city of Gary's first female mayor and the state of Indiana's only female African-American mayor. As director of communication, Chelsea oversaw media relations, crisis communication, special events, branding, and marketing in her own town, Gary, Indiana. In the fall of 2015 to spring 2019, Chelsea was employed by the Chicago Urban League, where she served as director of external affairs and special events. She continues to serve as adjunct professor at Indiana University Northwest and Indiana Wesleyan, teaching courses in communications, social networking, and special event planning. Since 2015, Chelsea has operated her own PR consulting firm, C. Witt, who you with, where she develops public relations and social media strategies for clients, as well as presents workshops and trainings on social media and public speaking. In spring 2019, she made the big leap into full-time entrepreneurship while expanding her clientele to service small businesses, nonprofit organizations, and governmental agencies. Wow, she's done a lot in her lifetime. And without further ado, let me just introduce you to Miss Chelsea Whittington. Miss Whittington.
James the Orator, how are you, friend?
Hey, I'm doing well. It's good to see you. And thank you so much for joining us here on Super Speak Sundays. Again, as I was telling our audience, this is one of the interviews I've been waiting to do, because I've been watching you behind the scenes, doing your I forgot what it's called. What is
the CWIT session?
The CWIT sessions. And so those are short pop-up sessions with special guests. I'm paraphrasing how you put it, but
Yes,
but
you
but
just
but
never know where I'm going to pop up and who I'm going to pop up with.
well,
That's what keeps the people guessing.
that's right. That's right. Well, traditionally, what we do, we always start our show with a quote for our guests, and we just want you to kind of. I'll read the quote, and then we just want to get your reaction to what we've read. So
Sure.
let's do that now. So, as a public relations expert, your role is to develop strategies and lead initiatives that integrate into the overall development and marketing plan of a business or of the business. What is your reaction?
That is absolutely true. An expert or not, you definitely have to have strategies, and then you need to identify someone to lead those initiatives. I mean, what benefit is there if you come up with amazing ideas and then there's no follow through? In my role as a public relations expert, I always take each client where they are, and there is no blanket solution to how they market themselves and how they immerse themselves in the market. And so we have to look at who they're talking to. We have to look at what their budget is, what their goals are, who their customers are. And so once we decide that, and we develop those strategies around who we're talking to, then you definitely have to have full-blown execution. And a lot of times people fall down on that. They have all the best intentions in the meeting, and then they look around the room like, well, who's going to do that? And so we have to do that follow through. That's where the success comes.
Absolutely, absolutely. You have such a fruitful career. As I was reading through your bio prior to us going on live here, you have really tipped the scale in terms of this public relations thing. Talk about your background. I mean, did you grow up in a household where there were fruitful conversations at the time? I mean, how did all this come about?
Well, as you indicated, I am a proud native of Gary, Indiana,
Sure.
and did grow up in a two-home household, two-parent household, youngest of four children, a very strong spiritual base.
Okay.
And so by going to church and Sunday school and being involved in a lot of extracurricular activities, I was given a lot of opportunities to speak in front of crowds. My first speaking engagement was age 4. And that was when I was given the honor of doing the welcome for the pastor's anniversary. Okay. It was a 3-night affair, and I had the role of Friday night. And I can remember standing by the fireplace and my mother making me say this welcome over and over and over again. She said, you have to stand up straight. You have to project. You have to speak loudly, and don't shame our family.
Right.
So
that's right. That's right.
That's where it all began. And I originally had plans to be a special needs teacher.
Wow.
Believe it or not. I have a cousin who's hearing impaired. And as we would take trips as a child, she taught me sign language, and she was just so patient with me. And I thought, I think I might want to do this.
Right.
And then it was my mother, when I was around age 9 or 10, she said, you should go into PR. And I was like, PR, what is that?
Yeah.
And she said, you'll learn later, but just know that you're really, really persuasive, because I was always the spokesperson for my siblings. Why we needed to go to McDonald's instead of having dinner.
Right.
Why we needed to just not do our homework this time and do it later. I just had a speech or a campaign, if you will, to get people to think the way I think. And so that's where it all started. But then I really wanted to be a broadcast journalist. That's what I got my first degree in. Wanted to do the whole Oprah thing, but she would not retire. And so I went to grad school.
Right.
And I discovered public relations. I discovered public relations.
Now, was there any point in time when you thought about being a lawyer or anything like that? Because again, we talk about communication. Communication involves, of course, when you're a lawyer, you have to be able to be persuasive. So was that ever in the mix at all?
Law was never in the mix. I always saw myself doing something fun. Not to say law isn't, to some it is, but something entertaining and being enjoyable. And I thought I was going to have my own talk show. And turns out I do. I just had to create it myself.
Yeah. Wow. And so you leave high school and you end up at Howard University, the mecca of HBCUs. Although I have a son at Tuskegee right now.
That's awesome as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so talk about your experience transitioning from Gary, Indiana, and going to a place like Washington, D.C., where, Howard University is?
Yes, it was a big change, but by it being the chocolate city, I was totally comfortable. And I also have to give a shout out to my school corporation, Gary Community School Corporation. I graduated from Westside High School, and a lot of times people are hesitant about going to a higher institution of learning, wondering whether or not they were ready.
Right.
I was totally prepared. My education in Gary was first rate, and I was ready to compete on any level with any student from any place in the country. So I have to shout them out about that. Once I saw the classwork, I was like,
Right.
oh, we did that, or
That's right.
I'm familiar with that, or I can grasp that. But getting there, I was there on a full ride. School of Communications, the Annenberg Honors Program was just introduced, and I
Beautiful.
applied. And on February 3rd, 1990, I got that letter. I'll never forget that day, stating that as long as I kept a 3.5 and completed a thesis
Right.
in my senior year, that I would go to Howard free. So I never paid Howard a dime.
Wow.
And that in itself is a blessing for my parents,
Absolutely.
especially having other siblings in college at the time. And when I got there, I immediately got involved. So I wrote for the newspaper. I worked at the radio station. I volunteered at the TV station. And so I knew that journalism would be my path in some kind of ways. And I wanted to complement my coursework with real life experience. And then when I was offered the opportunity to work on Capitol Hill in the office of Congressman Rangel, that's when I got my feet wet with PR. And we started to reach out to constituents, talk to them about the congressman's platforms. And I really started to like that. Then I got another internship at the Peace Corps, writing press releases. And I said, I like that. And then my manager at the time said, but you probably need to go to grad school to fully grasp this career.